All right, now I've turned on the recording, so we've got that piece. That probably actually would have been useful to have actually recorded for everybody. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's because I'm an idiot. Oh well. The good old days when we lived in deck. Okay, I mean, I did do that. I lived back there. Was there something specific you had in mind? We were in deck for quite a while before we moved to Delve. We spent more time in Delve, without a doubt, but we were in deck for a good bit of time.
I've got a question about that. The Delve, back in the days, Delve was the prime spot. Why Inmother?
So when it was a prime spot, there was changes to um, the mining, right? The moons, and honestly, we got too big. Like Delve was too small, really, for us, um, and so the enemy was too far away from us. Delve was really kind of small. We were hemmed in. Um, it there's no other real way to say that. Goons just got too freaking fat to live in Delve. Um, and so that really started to push us to the idea of, well, we can't really stay here. There's physically not enough space to really do for the Alliance. And the only way we could get more space would be to take it from other Imperium allies. And so we started to look around and say, well, we want to be closer to the enemy. Where's the enemy? Well, they're in the drones. Okay, so how do we get closer to them? Delve was not as good as it used to be. It's not a terrible region. It's not the worst region by any means, but it was not super great. The space is relatively spread out. So here in some other, right, from CJ, we've got over 100 systems in drop range, right? That's the Beehive cover range. So that's Titan coverage that Ziopa mentioned. Delve, it was like half that. It was like 60 or 70 of them. So it made this a much more compact region for us to live in, much easier to do when we were in UALX. We had split staging, right? Combat staging was in UALX, Beehive staging was in another one. I always forget what it was called. Um, Anybody remember that? I know it's been less than a year, but like I'm spacing what that was called from UALX. What was the Beehive?
YJK.
Thank you. Yeah, YJ. Um, and they weren't covering the same regions. It was a whole thing. Uh, so it was a lot of pieces added up together. Basically, the region just ended up being too small for us. Is the honest answer. Yeah, the as Blake was saying there, the respawn timers were not great. It just we were just running into issues of the space was just too small for us. Back when we lived in Deck is a very spread out region. It's very long, very linear kind of a region. It was not as big of a deal because you got to remember before fatigue came in and all those pieces, the jump ranges on ships were longer as well. So not only did we get fatigue added with the Citadel expansion stuff, but they nerfed the jump range on ships as well. So you had fatigue and you had a jump range nerf that hit at the same time, which made certain regions much more difficult to defend and to hold. A lot of that did get reverted over the years. Uh, Fatigue, much like the current fatigue system, is fine. It's a little annoying when you max out your timer, but the maximum timer on it is 6 hours. Uh, didn't used to be that way. The first one didn't have a limit. Then it was 30 days, I think, is when they did. They've incrementally lowered it. I think it went to 30 days from there, and then it went to 7 days. Now it's 6 hours. So you get a lot of those changes. The jump ranges are a little bit better. They did increase the distance you could jump, but not to the pre-nerf stage. So you put all of those things together, and it made for a really interesting change. You know that the reason we left Deck is because of the Casino War. We probably still wouldn't be there if the casino war hadn't happened, just because again of the nerfs to those ranges. The capital in deck was moved. I remember it moving 4 or 5 times. It was super annoying. Most of the time it was in YO when I was there. It was in any number of places. VFK is the most like meme location for the capital. But I spent most of my time as a cap pilot in the YO capital. That was the capital there for a while. And then it was moved. It was moved back. Moved again. Moved back. It stayed in YO for a while. In fact, it was in YO when we lost deck during the casino war. Yeah, so the Pentagoon was on the northwest corner of deck. I used to live right there in the Pentagoon. My corp was headquartered there, and yeah, it was single sino range to YO, but that was again because of the distance the old caps could jump. I honestly don't know if it's still single sino range to YO or VFK from that area. I haven't looked. It might not be. I think it is, but it might not be. Jump Freighter for sure is still in that range. It might not be in Titan Bridge range. It was back then because Titan Bridges were longer, but it might not be now. But if you don't know what the Pentagoon is, if you open up a map of Daklan and you look along the northwest side, it literally looks like a pentagon. Yeah, the good old VFK by Christmas. Um, that's a meme because Goonswarm's capital was in VFK. It moved. We moved it a lot in deck. It was really annoying because it seemed to shift quite frequently. Yeah, you don't hear as many of them as you used to. Um, they're still said because there's still enough of the old people and the old bitter vets like me who are still around who remember those. Like I lived in deck, but I never actually lived in VFK. The capital was not in VFK when I was part of Goons. When I first joined what was Deckco at the time, I wasn't in GSF. I was in Fatal Ascension, um, and I was in TNT back at that point in time. But when I formally joined GSF, I was in a corporation called WeDot, and they lived in the Pentagoon area. Yeah, the Cultural Revolution that we went through. I was talking with Rose actually about this the other day. We've been through a couple of them, depending on how you count them. There's been at least two, three or four, maybe, depending on how you really want to count that. But there was a big one in, I want to say it was about 2013, 2014, something like that. Maybe 2015. It was somewhere in that neighborhood. There was a big update with it. The old doctrine names were really terrible, like hardcore gamer words that you just wouldn't say now. But it was super common at the time.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, they were not good.
Wait, you were in we were you had the My Little Pony bee? Is that what this why that was?
Oh, don't mention My Little Pony.
They
uh,
literally had a bee that I know somebody who has the image of it as their picture still, but I don't have a copy of it.
so I was in WeDot. I was I would have been classified as a sub director. I was the SRP guy for WeDot before the corp shut down.
It's back alive though, apparently.
They are because I still know all of the old directors, including the current guy who's running it. I knew him quite well. He and I actually do talk. His name is Souls. He was who I actually thought ran WeDot because he was the only guy I ever heard speak like that. He was the guy who was like, "Oh, something's happened. Talk to Souls, right? This is happening. Talk to Souls." I thought he was CEO for a really long time, and it was just that the character's name in the corp was just not his original, like it was an alt that he used. Took me longer than I care to admit to before I knew that it was actually two different people. But the real CEO, like, never heard the guy talk. Even when I became a sub director and I was in the kind of director's chat for the corp, he never said anything. I only heard him speak when the casino war got really bad and it was clear we were going to lose our space, and they did an all hands meeting, and that's when I actually heard the CEO speak. A guy named Raiden for the record, but
think back in them times, I think I remember Matani when he went to FanFest had a big rant about somebody
Oh,
using
God.
like 20 Hulks.
Oh, that's not what I was thinking you were going to say, thank God.
yeah, he used to rant
He
quite a bit. So there's any number of rants.
stood on stage and had a big rant and telling everybody to go and kill him, and he ended up leaving Eve. Full stop.
Oh, you are referencing what I'm thinking about. Was he wearing a wizard hat?
Yeah, it became known as the
Yeah,
wizard hat.
that's it.
Yes.
So he
I
got
was
I
there
think it was
in
a
the.
30-day ban from CCP for that.
Yeah, it was. I watched. Somebody sent me the video a few days ago, and I saw myself in the audience. Come
He,
back. What's happened to Matani anyway?
he
Isn't he
retired a
banned?
couple of years ago. No, he's not. He just retired. Yeah, he
He's not in
retired in
Goons.
21, 22 when Asher took over. I'm trying to remember the exact dates on it, but I think it's 22. He's just full stop retired. He's out, touching grass, doing everything like that.
He won.
Yeah, he did. The last update I heard from him, and it's been quite a while. But he's just, he's a young guy, and so he's only late 40s, 47 or 48. I'm trying to remember. I think that's what it is. That sounds about right.
Thanks for saying I'm
47.
young.
He's the same age as me.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like, he was a couple of years older than I am, I think, and I'm trying to place him. So let's say he's 50 because he's not. I'm sure he's younger than that, but let's just say. So he's just enjoying retired life, uh, touching grass, doing all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he's full on retired from IRL work too. He has been for a long time. So yeah, the history of Burn Jita is an interesting one. It began as the ice interdiction campaign many, many years ago. This was when basically everybody was using a specific type of pause tower, right? They're also called sticks. And so Goonswarm was like, all right, well, we're going to target the ice that makes the isotopes that go into those towers because everybody used them. And isotopes are racially locked to specific regions. Um, and so, oh, yep, Heidi found it. And so almost exactly in the middle of 22. Nice. Okay. And so that began the ice interdiction campaign, was to target that ice, target those isotopes, to make moon goo and T2 ships more expensive was the idea, because these towers were primarily used for the old moon reactions, which is how you used to do moon mining and reactions. They were all done with pause towers. That then led into Hulkageddon because goons got turned loose in HiSec, and they were just ganking mining ships. Rorquals didn't exist in HiSec, but they were going after orcas, and porpoises didn't exist either. So it was orcas and then mining barges or exhumers or whatever else they could find. That then led into Hulkageddon, where the target was Hulks specifically. Um, Same thing, just targeting any Hulk, though. It wasn't just going after those mining ice. It was specific Hulks anywhere, whatever they were doing. Um, Hulks are incredibly expensive at that point in time, and they were super easy to kill, as was just mentioned. Their hit points incredibly low, um, But the thing is that if you guys look at modern Hulks versus Mackinaws, the difference is that each of the exhumers, right, the 3 exhumer types, mined different things. So Mackinaws were ice miners. It's really all you ever did with them. You didn't do anything else. You mined ice with a Mackinaw. Hulks were the ore miners. And so you would mine ore with them, and that's it. But they had no tank. They were like
And
literally
the
a gas.
skiffs were the gas ones, weren't they?
Yes. Yep. Skiff was those. And so you couldn't do, like, if you were mining in high sec and you were mining ore, you had a Hulk. And that's how you did it. But you'd flick them and they'd die. They had no tank to them at all.
Yeah, but that's when Hulks could have 3 miners. The Mac had 2 and the skiff had 1.
Yep, that's true. But they were also specialized. Yeah, so it was 1 miner for the skiff, 2 for the Mac, and 3 for the Hulk. But they still were specialized from that. That's not the case today. There's a lot less specialization with those now. You just put different mining lasers on them. But back then they were more specialized. So that was Hulkageddon. That then led into the Burn Jetas. We did one Burn Amar one year, but the majority of them were Burn Jetas. And the Burn Jetas were not targeted on miners, they were targeted on jump freighters. Primarily jump freighters, but they would use them against orcas and freighters as well. Especially if you were AFK flying a freighter, that was going to end badly for you, and it was probably going to die. CCP actually used to put on the old launcher. I can't remember the phrasing they used, but it was something basically along the lines of, "Hey, idiot, don't autopilot your freighter; it's going to die." And everybody just ignored them, and we were just massacring freighters and jump freighters.
Wait, is this one Atrum got on 382 minor ship kills, or is this something else?
I honestly don't know. I don't know that specific one there, Rose, but I could totally believe it. I was on a ton of those kills myself, but I don't know that specific one. I would assume the answer is yes. That was either Hulkageddon or one of the Burn Jetas. I would think that's probably Hulkageddon if it was on minor kills, because the Burn Jetas specifically targeted jump freighters, orcas, larger ships, not usually against minor.
It was
Yeah, the
the
jump
Galente
freighters as
ice
they jumped into
interdiction.
jitter.
So that was the
That's what it
original
was.
ice interdiction campaign from
December of 2011.
yeah, I was
December
gonna
17th.
I was gonna say 2012.
3,422 ships.
Yeah, 2011. That would make sense.
I may have found the page.
Yeah, but that's where all of those came from. The original ice interdiction campaign, goons actually killed my Rorqual. Sorry, not Rorqual. My Orca. I was piloting it. I was not autopiloting. I was flying it. I knew they were in the area. I knew all about it, and I was just like, goons. So I tanked my Orca. Didn't help. They used like 5 extra catalysts and blew it to hell. So yep, goons ganked me in that original ice interdiction campaign. Took out my Orca. I will admit, I was a little pissed at the time. It's like, I built this Orca myself. God damn it.
Bad as it sounds, I think I'm on that kill mail.
Well, it wasn't on my main. It was on one of my ults. So, because my main couldn't fly an Orca back then. I mean, it could be. I've gone and looked through that kill mail. It's been a year since I've did it, but I remember looking through it and spotting names of people who are still active in GSF that I know who helped gank that Orca back in the day.
Oh, it was my ult.
Yeah, it was also one of those things of the ice belts back then were not technically infinite in size, but they were infinite in size. Because there would be like 1,000 rocks, and each one would have like 1,000 blocks of ice or 10,000 blocks of ice, and they would reset every downtime. So they weren't technically unlimited. I have seen at that point in time some of those asteroids, right? The ice asteroids dying, like popping. Um, but yeah, you would just
That
go
was
out and
rare.
people would do it. Yeah, it was rare. It did happen. It was rare because there were so many rocks. People just spread out across the ice fields, uh, and it was insane. But that was changed years and years and years and years ago. Dude, you most definitely do not get the uh, basically infinite ice belts anymore. No, I still prices would be a hell of a lot lower than they are today if there were. So guy who originally asked me about deck, I don't know if I answered your question there about the Declan kind of things. I hope so. If not, you might just rephrase it for me.
What
Oh
was the
yeah, doing
question?
the burn Jita stuff, just jacking with your sex status. Yeah, it definitely did. Yeah, I mean Heidi's absolutely right. It would be a lot harder to do some of the market PvP stuff that Beyond talked about with the infinite ice. And by harder, I mean you couldn't do it. Not really. You might be able to do it for a few hours before, one of the because input broadcasting was absolutely a thing back then. IS Boxer was hugely common among the multi boxers, and they would use those, and so yeah, you'd get one guy on dock like 50 or 100, you know, Mackinaws, and they'd just be smashing an ice field. Yeah, that happened all the time. Yeah, there were market bots back then as well. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not like market bots don't exist now, but they were a whole lot more common. Is IS Boxer gone? I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I don't use it, so I don't know if it still is. I hear people
It might
talk about it every now and then, but I don't know.
it might still exist, but honestly, most of its functions have been replaced by like Evex Preview. What I think it's the newest one, and what's the other one?
I'll say the Evex Preview is the one that I always think of.
Evex Preview and Evo View are like basically the two that are used now.
It's because most of the features IS Boxer are against the EULA now.
Yeah, they did put all those against it to try and ban its use. It was one of
And
those the old bomber IS Boxer guys. Oh, fuck those guys. They were so annoying. You'd be sitting on a gate or traveling somewhere, and one guy would decloak like a dozen bombers, and you fucking died.
if I actually recall correctly, I think Evex Preview pretty much has every feature that IS Boxer has, and it's free.
Yeah, it was super common back in the early 2010s ish, up till about 2015 is when people started to really come out against it. Okay, another prompt for anybody for story time there. Let's see if there's anything. Nothing in Elysium, yeah. So the CO2 betrayal, this kicked off what we call the Casino War. It was the first mark I remember when this happened because I was at work when it kicked off. K Color, those of you who remember K Color, he was a capital and super capital commander back at this point in time. He was bringing our super and Titan fleet back from somewhere. They were engaged in something. I don't remember what they were doing, but they were coming back home, and the capital was in YO at the time. They were coming back. CO2 gave them a route and said, "Hey, we've got pauses set up on all of this route. Citadels didn't exist then. They were just, they were coming into it. That's the lead up. The Casino War happened, and Citadels were introduced, and Jump Fatigue, right? This all kind of happened in a fairly short period of time. Well, K Color looked at their route and said, "This route's kind of dumb. Why are we going this way?" And so he rerouted the fleet, and that's what saved the super fleet. Was just the fact that K Color looked at the route that CO2 said, "Hey, you should do this," and he said, "Nah, I don't like that route," so he went a different way. That's what literally saved our capital fleet, our super capital fleet back at the time.
Wait, that's what K Color's known for.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
God damn it.
He did a lot of things. He was my first like real capital commander when I first got into Cap Warfare. He was the Cap FC that I flew with the most and was promoted to Super Cap at some point in that field. I don't feel the time. I don't remember when he was. I remember when he got his Aeon because it was the hilarious thing that we were in a Cap fleet. There's no faxes back then, so we were in a triage carrier fleet, and there's a freaking Aeon in the fleet, and we're like, what the hell? And that's how they told everybody that he'd been promoted to Super Cap FC, is because he literally brought an Aeon on our carrier fleet.
You know what? I would do it. I mean, that seems to be the right thing to do.
I mean, it was hilarious, and back then, one Aeon didn't really matter like price wise when you had 250 triage carriers. Like, what is anybody going to do? Because there was no stacking penalty on remote reps back then, and supers couldn't go into triage. That's not a thing, for them. So that many carriers, that super's not going to die. You have to bring in a massive fleet of Titans and try and DD it. So it's the only way you'd be able to do that. Because back at this point in time, carriers could use drones. So if you tried to kill it with dreadnoughts or anything like that, nah, those carriers would fuck up those dreads.
I miss the drones on my carrier.
Yeah, I don't, in the fact that they were so bloody expensive to get them all for my first carrier. I was like, God damn it. It's crazy how many you had to carry.
They were glorified Ishtar.
Yep. Do I think the super became easier to field than CCP thought? 100%, man. So the Titans, there were not supposed to be more than like a dozen Titans in all of Eve. That's what CCP originally thought was going to happen. Clearly, they were wrong. Supers were the same kind of thing. They were supposed to be a relatively limited thing. These incredibly expensive, insane ships. Didn't happen. It's something that everybody's like, this is awesome. Let's do it.
Well, they used to be limited building in pauses. You can only build so many at a time.
Yeah, you had to use the CSAA, the Capital Ship Assembly Array, to build them. It was absolutely a thing. We trekked. I remember we were either in YO or we had moved the capital a little bit further west for caps. I can't remember now. And I remember K Color trekking us all the way down into Fountain, actually, to rep some idiot CSAA pause. Because he'd mouthed off to somebody and they'd gone and reinforced it, and it was building a super Titan. I don't remember which. And then we schlepped all the way back up to the capital. We obviously repped it, schlepped all the way back up to the capital. And then like a day later, we had to do it again. And I remember I think it was Aerith actually sent a ping out, or it was a forum post of how much it cost us in fuel to go down there. And by the time we did it like the third time, Mittens is like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Tell your guy to shut the hell up or whatever, because it actually cost us more than whatever hull he was building in fuel to go down there and keep repping it. It's probably a super. but it was costing billions in topes. And again, this is still infinite ice money. That's how many topes we were burning to go down there and rep this stupid pause in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Can I just throw out there that Goonswarm, the Alliance, was officially founded June of 2006. We're coming up next year. Will be our 20 years.
Yeah, it sounds about right. That's when everything was merged together. Yeah.
Yep, Goonfleet,
Free
Goonloft,
Titans for
Big Mech,
everybody.
Durgon, and Magellanic, and Video.
Yeah. Those are some blasphemy past names.
I know. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I have some fun. I have some of the fun information that if we need it.
It occurs to me by giving Rose the power to wiki, we have unwittingly released something and we not yet know what it is.
Yeah, I was just sitting there thinking, all right, I may have made a mistake in this when I listened to Aoife, but it's what's done is done.
Damn.
Who knows? We may get some of the lore back that's been frozen.
Look, I sent Ranger a picture that was safe off of the old wiki of the snow goons with the bumblebees playing in the snow and Santa Goon. He did not ping it out, and I was very sad because I went digging for it for him.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, his cute little snow goons.
Huh.
It was adorable.
Clearly, I had purged that from my memory.
It's okay. It's okay. This is why I have 25 tabs open currently, and I'm going. How can I make this work?
Yeah, I did miss a question earlier. You had to move guns to move minerals. Yes, mineral compression was absolutely a thing, and most people used
425s.
425s for that. You would build 425 autocannons in HiSec, and then you would just buy them, whatever. You'd get 425s in Gina, you'd ship them to wherever it is that you were doing it, and then you would reprocess them. And the volume of minerals that came out was larger than the volume of the gun, and so it was called mineral compression back at the time. Were they railguns? They might have been railguns. I think you're right, Heidi.
I thought it was
They actually were
railguns.
railguns.
If
Yeah.
you're talking about 400
I remember
autocannons,
that.
they
I
would have been
hated that.
smaller autocannons, and you would want to move in a bigger unit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was actually railguns. That sounds right. Yeah, because the 425 autocannons were used on cruisers. No, you're right. It was the 425 railguns. Yeah, it was.
I must admit, whoever told CCP that one needs to be kicked.
Yeah, I don't know how. Like, I don't know who was the first person to come up with that plan for it. To do that. It's been the trick has been around for years and years and years, and then they changed the way the reprocessing works, and so it just neutered the shit out of that. That actually comes also from the old rat drop loot poop, whatever you want to call it, from the old rogue
Drones.
Yes, it's called drone poop sometimes. So you wouldn't get bounties from the old rogue drones. You would kill them and then you have to loot and salvage them to make any money. They had no bounties on them at all. And then you had to take this drone poop, which, like, again, most people call it, and you would reprocess that and you'd get straight minerals. Some of that stuff still does exist. I've still got a little bit of that stuff. I kept it when they removed those from the game, from the drop loot drop tables. They didn't remove it from the game. I've still got a little bit of it in Jita. I tossed it in my bitter old man can, so I've still got a little of that. Same thing as the old proximity mines. Like, you can't get those anymore and have all those things around, but they didn't remove them from the game. I've actually got some of the old proximity mines. You can't do anything with them. They're just a collector's item.
I died at gate camp with a BPO of that.
That's funny. Sorry, Max. It makes me chuckle because that's shit that only someone like of our age would even know anything about.
Thinking of our age, I've got a revelation with large rigs still in it. Do I salvage it or do I sell it or what?
I mean, you can do whatever you want with them. Those rigs will still act as though they're capital rigs for the hull. It's called a legacy rigged, carrier or dreadnought or whatever it is. Um, if you can sell it, you can usually sell it for a little bit more than what the rigs would normally be worth because you can't get them anymore. Like you can't put large rigs on a cap. So what happened is, right, back in the day, you put large rigs on battleships and capitals. And that was, supers as well. That was a thing because the capital rigs didn't exist. So when they introduced the capital rigs, they did not change the old fitted rigs. So that's why you've got a legacy. Like I've got a legacy rigged carrier. It's just, yeah. I mean, you can sell it for a little more, but it's up to you, man. I wouldn't, rip them out of there unless you really need to change the rigs. Um,
It's in asset safety and over 33 jumps away.
yeah, I mean that's something that because it's a dreadnought, you can just sell that out there. You'll have to like go out there, get it out, and do all that kind of stuff. You can't put it on the market. You have to use contracts. But legacy rig stuff, you can sell for more than what you would normally go for. I don't know what the markup would be, but you will get an extra little bit of ISK for it.
The good old days.
Yeah, for the person who was asking about the old, the time of old, um, there may or may not have been a recording of Matani. There are recordings of Matani on SoundCloud that I am having to go through and go, is this appropriate? Can we? The answer for most of them is no. But they exist. So put your SoundCloud detective hat on, I guess.
Yeah, most of the recordings from him are um, interesting.
Not safe for work.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Most of the ones that I have are old firesides or fireside equivalents. The only other one that I have, like I mentioned, is Fleet. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's there are some interesting. What the? Okay, I might have to pull some of. Heidi, if you have any more, send them to me.
So
But,
this one isn't actually mittens. It is a man and his wife having an argument about fucking mittens.
oh my god, this is beautiful.
Just listen. If you haven't heard this one, this is
I
fucking
have
amazing.
So someone in Fleet was saying, I think someone just got exploded on the outside of CJ. Yeah, like 5 or 6 thoraxes just warped in and popped somebody. There they are. There's 5 of them. They're going after the Sinos.
Worst part is I know the person that's arguing with him. And in real life, she's just as argumentative.
Looks like they picked the wrong guy. 2 of them are about to die.
No, as soon as I start speaking to her, I know, give up. She takes your job. I'm sorry, but he belongs to her, full stop.
Heidi, that is a beautiful, beautiful sound clip.
Yeah, that someone was there to recruit it.
Not if you have to. Not if you speak to her. No.
So there are there are occasionally like people post different pictures in places, right? Occasionally that are really funny. I've been trying to preserve a lot of those. So there's one picture of Asher showing his ship that goes really slow, and then when he turns on the MWD, he goes super fast. There might have been a meme potentially involved.
Yeah, there
Well,
usually are.
yeah, look, if it's funny and you post it in local, you might end up on the wiki. Maybe if it's funny enough.
If it's funny enough, it'll get views and you get money.
You think I get paid?
Don't we all?
If she
No?
doesn't get paid, I don't get paid. Other way around.
Exactly. I don't get paid. Wait, Aoife, you don't get paid?
Who's
Well,
paying me?
Is it? I thought Dad was
My
paying you.
taxes are
Dad,
going
are you
somewhere.
not paying Aoife?
Nah, it's called skimming.
Yeah.
Oh.
Most of your space volunteers are unpaid.
I know.
I'm a
I'd probably be
grunt
a fucking trillionaire if I was
cyberspace.
getting paid.
I'm giving Aoife the shit. That's what I'm doing. No, Nichu, no, that will not make it into the new wiki, and I learned the story behind that. It can still be found in some forum signatures. However, no, Beep Beep I'm a Jeep will not be making it into the new wiki. It is absolutely horrible and horrific.
So long as Give Missiles and Fofo make it in, I'll be happy.
Fofo will definitely be making it in. I think Gib Missile will also be making it in. Lucid, it came from a result of a car crash, and I'm gonna leave it at that. That it was pretty bad. I'm toning it down so y'all can have a little bit of context of what some people are referring to.
As is most things in Eve for goons, like memes, wholesome memes, yeah, not so much. That's just not really the way we roll. Most of our memes are pretty dark and pretty terrible.
Welcome
Not
to
exactly
Goons.
respectful. I like it. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, some of the memes are pretty bad. There is a lot that is how do I say this? Probably would belong on the Something Awful forums because that's where Goons started.
I don't think Goons will believe that's forum.
As long as that forum's active, you're probably right. Yeah, I doubt they will either. Okay, I'll do like one last question there. So I've been doing the Eve stuff today for going on 7.5 hours with the Meet the Directors thing. So we'll do like one more question and then I'm gonna call it a day. So any other quick stories or any other questions from anybody before we do that?
Yeah, I do have one. Where do you see us going?
So we have future plans for that, and that's all I can tell you on that one.
Where did the saying "future plans" come from? English.
North, south, east, west.
It's so Rose, that one comes from the fact that people kept asking, like on the fireside, what's gonna happen next, and we just got tired of doing it, and it's just like, all right, well that's gonna be in the future, but you have a plan, yes, so it's a future plan, yes, and that's where that more or less came from. It's just a way to say we're not gonna tell you what that is. So yeah, that's that's how that
Okay,
came down.
so can I define that one? Is there going to be a war within the next couple of months?
So there's no way to answer that because you can't predict what Eve's going to do. So I cannot give you an answer to that, not because I don't want to, but because there's like what could kick off. We didn't expect Horde to implode the way that it did. It's just, there's no guarantees on it. Do I think it's likely? No, the odds are relatively low, like within the next 2 months. Could it happen? Yeah, because Chinese New Year's is in about 2 months, and those guys will have a lot of break time. So, what could happen then? We don't know.
So we're going to be leaving the drones lands alone for quite a few months.
Yeah, we don't want any interference in the drones from our side. Like the big piece is to allow the groups that are there. There's about a dozen of them or so. The last time I looked at the solve map, to grow and decide what they want to do. Like, are they going to form a new drone lands coalition? I don't know. Maybe. If they do, cool. Right, then there would be another block in Eve. There's 3 blocks right now. 4 is a little bit more fun. So what's that going to look like in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? I have no idea. But we want to give them a chance to get established, right? Get their own 2 feet under them, and to do their thing without the big blocks just constantly just beating the shit out of them. And that was kind of the whole point to why we were doing it the way that we were.
Are we going to mess with the northern side?
Yeah, that's future plans. I see the question there. Heidi said, "What was your first step on the road to being a director?" What was my first step on being a road to a director? Asher likes to say my first step to doing that was when I was in Reavers back in the day and volunteered to be the head of HR for Reavers with it.
Oh God.
That was so I knew Asher because I had been in Reavers for a while. He knew me. Reavers was a small-ish group. At the time, I mostly commanded the Logi wing in Reavers. I wasn't the only Logi commander, but there was only a couple of us because again, it was a fairly small group. So like 3 or 4 of we would call them Logi anchors now. That term didn't really exist back then. Arendus was one. I was one. Reaver Geist was one. We had a couple others, but it was something to where I got into command. I got into doing all those kind of pieces because I was the Logi commander a lot of times. And so that's how I got to know Asher, to do all those kind of things. When he's terrible with space paperwork, so when he decided that he couldn't really do it anymore, he's like, "Hey, I need some help." I was the one who volunteered for it. And when I looked at the pending applications, there were over 70 of them. 70. I think there was like 73 or some ridiculous number. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Asher. And so that's how I really got to know him. And from there, there's a whole series of steps to me ending up as chief of staff. But I think that was the moment when I got onto his real radars when I took over. Reavers HR didn't even exist back then. I basically created the entire system myself. He used to refer to me as the gatekeeper. My first space job would have been either as SRP guy for WeDot, probably. I think, yeah, because I was made chair of classes later. So, yeah, probably when I was SRP guy for WeDot was my first space job. I eventually became chair of classes for University, and I was in Recon, so I knew Asher from there, and I was also in the Reavers group as the gatekeeper. I'm not sure, honestly, which one of those you would say is the first step. Alliance-wise, it probably would have been as chair of classes. Might have been as Reavers gatekeeper. I'm not sure. I doubt anybody even knew my name when I was the WeDot SRP guy, because there was a bunch of bitter vets with a ton of bloody money. So I processed 1 or 2 SRP requests like a week. It was nothing. Those guys never put in SRP. It was the easiest job ever. All right. I think I'm gonna call it a day there. After literally like 7.5 hours of space talking. So, you guys enjoy your Saturday. I'm gonna put all of these recordings up on YouTube. It's 7.5 hours of them, so it's gonna take a while to render and post and do all the words. So, probably not gonna have those until tomorrow morning. I'll try and throw a couple of them up tonight. We'll see how it goes. You guys have a good rest of your Saturday and holidays, all that kind of fun stuff. Tomorrow I am gonna do. I had to postpone it because of some IRL stuff yesterday, but I'm gonna do the see the sights tour tomorrow at 1900 Eve, or today for your Euros. So it'll be 1900 Eve on Sunday. We'll do the see the sights tour that I had to postpone from yesterday. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow or some other point in time.
The other thing, if you like these history things, please look at the wiki team. We like extra hands.
Also,
I sometimes include cookies, and they're yes.
Yeah, Wiki team is recruiting. If you're interested in that, reach out to Rose. All right. On that note, gonna hit that and step away. Cheerio, guys. Have a good one.